Hello everyone and welcome to this video which is suggesting a purpose for the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza is surrounded by mysteries. The construction contradicts the assumption by early explorers of the building being a pharaoh's tomb. Peculiar details in the constitution of the king's chamber, the grand gallery, and the antechamber have over the years inspired unorthodox theories. Various researchers recognize remnants of some kind of mechanical devices or chemical process. People have associated the shelves, alcoves and recesses along the Grand Gallery with structures for attaching equipment or machinery of some kind. One popular suggestion is about the pyramid being some kind of power plant. The antechamber is equipped with vertical recesses, possibly traces for sliding seals, or some mechanical device for closing off the king's chamber. The large corridor called the Grand Gallery connects to the antechamber on its top end. This ascending corridor has a length of 47.8 meters and a height of 7.7 meters. The floor of the elevated corridor is 105 centimeters wide, flanked by two platforms 52.5 centimeters wide and high, holding recesses along the side of the gallery. What about any credible functions suggested by mainstream scientists? There is one credible suggestion, connected to the king's chamber. Ventilation shafts have been found radiating from this room, also holding a stone sarcophagus. One of those famous narrow shafts emanates within meters from the stone box. The shaft is constructed at a 45-degree angle and is aligned towards the position of the star Zeta Orion that corresponds to the year 2450 BC. This was recognized by Egyptologists Alexandra Badaway and astronomer Virginia Trimble in the mid-1960s. The same shaft was the one explored by a robot in 1992. Since the mid-1960s, the mainstream opinion among scholars have been that the shaft in the king's chamber serves as a star shaft through which the soul of the deceased pharaoh could ascend to Orion and then begin its navigation of the Duat. In essence, a transporting device for the soul of the afterworld to the afterworld. This corresponds well to the belief system about the afterlife and the ascending of the soul in ancient Egypt. So, what would it look like if such a purpose was accurate for the whole pyramid, and the antechamber and the Grand Gallery was part of a mechanism aiding the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife? My illustration is a what-if suggestion based on this hypothesis. In the depicted scenario, I have used part of the Egyptian belief system concerning the soul's journey to the afterlife. Essential for this passage was the trial of Osiris in the Hall of Truth. This involved weighting of the heart of the deceased against the feather of truth in claiming the purity of the soul. In this process, multiple entities were present. Besides Osiris himself, Anubis was leading the soul, Thoth was holding the scales, and the goddess Maat was present, and they were surrounded by 42 judges asking 42 questions. In my scenario, the Grand Gallery is set for a ceremony representing the Hall of True and that trial through which the soul had to pass before entering paradise. As part of this ritual, the gallery would in such a case hold the deities involved, expressed in wooden statues of gods and other items, placed along the recesses on the elevated platform. Possibly the gallery also featured some kind of mechanism to move idols involved in the ceremony. The steep ramp is supporting a sledge with the priest holding the vessels containing representations of the soul parts, Kat and Ka, of the deceased pharaoh. The antechamber could have held the mechanism, including some kind of sliding doors, representing a ceremonial gate between passages in the journey to the underworld. There may have been locking sports or pulleys for dragging the sledge, carrying the priest and the soul of the pharaoh up to the king's chamber. When inside the king's chamber, the ritual would probably involve a final act of aiding the two parts of the soul. The sarcophagus could have been used to hold the representation of the physical aspect of the soul, Kat, or perhaps the mummy itself. And the shaft pointing towards the Orion constellation could have been used as a kind of stargate, sending off the astral part of the soul, Ka, on its journey to the afterlife. When the ascension was completed and the soul had successfully reached the afterlife, the vessels and the mummy, if used, would in such case have been transported to the tomb in the Valley of the Kings. And that's why there haven't been any mummies found inside the pyramid. It's probably logical that the Grand Gallery, the antechamber, and the King's Chamber, in such a scenario, would be empty between ceremonies. Every soul had to be guided and treated differently in this passage. The items needed when guiding a pharaoh's soul would have needed an individually ceremonial setup. Our articles and research is published in a book series covering ancient mysteries. Book 1, Tale of a Sunken City, is a collection of facts and conclusions supporting the hypothesis of a forgotten ancient civilization. The book is also an attempt to clarify complex theories using graphics and illustrations, and can be used as a textbook of forbidden archaeology.